remember my mom was there in the room. She's like, go ahead, cry, get it over with, you know. She's like, but the moment you stop crying, you pick your ass up and we get going. Because you're 19, you're not gonna be in a wheelchair for the rest of your fucking life. I think the whole battalion, for the most part, we're all new guys. All the other guys with combat experience, their deployment experience in general, we're all getting out. We had engineers. I don't think everybody did, but we had engineers who usually rolled out with the balance of the mine detector. Those guys, the point man, and then everybody else. And so my squad leader asked for volunteer for point man, and I was like, fuck it, I'll do it, you know? Because the way I looked at it was, these are my Marines, and I'm gonna take care of them, you know? I looked at it and thought, you know, somebody has to do it. It's either volunteer and take that role and just kind of man up and do it, or be voluntold to do it. I think there's more willingness to do it should you volunteer to do it, as opposed to somebody saying, hey, numbnut, you're gonna run point, and you're basically gonna be up. If there's IEDs, it's typically the first person who hits them, so you're gonna be there. And then that creates a lot of like anger and, you know, fuck this, I don't wanna be here, so that person's probably not gonna do their job correctly. So I was like, you know what, why not just do it, you know, and then protect my guys and just do it that way. Our first patrol with 3-5, because we were there for a couple of days before we even started patrolling. I'm up there with their point man, he's kind of like trying to point things out, like make sure you kind of keep an eye for this, it looks sketchy, you know, undisturbed dirt, things like that. If stuff feels out of the ordinary, take a second, think about it, should you continue, things like that. Trying to give me pointers on how to survive out there. And we had to come into a little dried out canal bed and come up the other side, and I put my hand down and then climb out. And one of the guys from 3-5 like halted the patrol, and he kind of pulled up his weapon, and he was like, something doesn't look right. And sure enough, right where I put my hand, kind of like in this area right here, there was a 40-pound HME, homemade explosive IED right there. And luckily the pressure plate itself was on the other side of the jug. I was on this side. Basically, if I would have stepped on that, there would be maybe a toe left of me. And I'm really thinking like, what the fuck am I doing here? Like, do I really want this job, you know? In a span of 2 weeks, 10 days, something like that, we went from being able to do missions outside the wire to we had to wait for reinforcements to come in because we were so undermanned. So many people were getting hurt. We had to go talk to an informant. We're kind of making our way back, and we came across these tree lines at like an L shape. We had one of our NCOs running the squad, and I get on the radio, and I was like, we should probably turn around. You know, something just doesn't feel right. You know, you get that sixth sense. And he's like, no, just keep going. You know, you'll be fine. I'm like, I'm gonna turn around. You know, it's just not right. But we get into a verbal argument. So you know what? If I get blown up, it's your fucking fault. And sure enough, I took a few more steps and stepped on about 15, 20 pounds of homemade explosives. Shot me about 10, 15 feet in the air, something like that. I ended up landing in a canal, which initially broke my fall and saved my life. Left lung was collapsed. Both legs were gone. I had part of my right hand left. I remember looking to my right, and my saw gunner was sitting there because the blast from my IED shot shrapnel to his face, and he got hit like right under the eye. Somebody comes up to kind of check on us, turns around to pop smoke, and as he did so, he stepped on an IED himself. I remember looking at my guys who were there in the immediate area. I was like, hey man, this is it. You know, this is time to go. You know, you kind of know, like, you know, you're cold. You're just like, just want to go to sleep. It's like, hey, it's time to go. I'll see you guys on the flip side. And I just rolled over and I basically passed away. They brought me back. Apparently got me on the litter, and I flatlined again there for the fourth time. And they were able to get me to the field hospital where they kind of stabilized me. I was like in a drug-induced coma. So I was in a coma for about 3.5 weeks. And the docs basically told my folks, go ahead and say your goodbyes, because he's not expect to make it. Lost a lot of blood, left lungs collapsed. People in this situation oftentimes don't make it. They're in my room, kind of, you know, doing their thing. I'm on life support, and I just woke up one day. I remember waking up and just kind of like walking my eyes down, and you know, it was like the sheet, and then it's like laid flat. And at that point, like I knew, like, you know, my legs, they're not there. And I bawled like a baby. Again, here I am, you know, 19 years old, and I'm disabled for the rest of my life. Like, what the fuck am I gonna do? I remember my mom was there in the room, and she's like, go ahead, cry, get it over with, you know? She's like, but the moment you stop crying, you pick your ass up and you get going, because you're 19, you're not gonna be in a wheelchair for the rest of your fucking life. That mental, I guess, message, that fortitude, kind of helped me push and go. I was just kind of, you know, pinballing around in life at the moment, trying to figure what this new sense of reality for me is. And one of the things I had to do during my transition was go speak to like a counselor, or psychologist or something to kind of see where I was at, like mentally, I guess, like an evaluation. And he sits down, he has my file with him, and the first thing he says, oh, I noticed that you're an infantryman in the Marine Corps and you got injured overseas, you must have PTSD. And I was taken aback, because you don't fucking know me from the next guy sitting in the goddamn waiting room. How do you know what I've been through? You know, and how can you just automatically put that label and judge me based on what I did? You can't do that to people, especially when they're transitioning out. Because for one, they're already still trying to find themselves, and they come out and you automatically go a fucked up label, then that just screws the way they perceive society and outside world, outside the military as it is. So of course they're gonna pinball around society, pissed off at the world, and think nobody's there to help them. I chose to pursue social work as a degree and profession because during my transition, again, I was just angry. Ended up finding the Vet Center and other vets. They understand that transition from the military to campus life, and so it's just like-minded people, like-minded stories who understand and aren't there to kind of necessarily like judge you as opposed to other students in the class. Our stories are so different. They're so similar, but they're so different and unique, you know, to the individual. The majority of people, they see a veteran and they're like, oh, you know, thank you for your service, which is great, you know, I appreciate that. But they think of it as, oh, he was deployed, he fought, he came home, and that's it. But the stories are so much deeper than that. They run deeper, and it just goes past, you know, the flak and Kevlar and marching around in the desert for hours on end. This could be a platform for other vets to see and say, you know what, I'm not going through it alone. There's somebody else who's similar experience and going through it, you know, the same thing. It gets better, you know, it can get better, but it's just like the military, you know, it's not gonna be handed to you. You have to earn that title. You have to earn that right. You have to fight for it. And if you want it, go fight for it, you know?